amendments, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and the environmental reviews associated with those projects. If applicable, the Planning Commission reviews and makes recommendations on BMR agreements associated with these projects. We work closely with the staff in our city's planning division, which is responsible for implementation of the general plan, zoning ordinances, and related policies. We encourage your active participation, whether you are an applicant or interested member of the public, and there will be an opportunity to speak publicly for each specific agenda item, as well as for general public comment. With that, I will call the roll. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Here.
Commissioner Doe.
Present.
Commissioner Farrick.
Here.
Commissioner Schindler.
Here.
Commissioner Sillen.
Present.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Present.
I am also present. I am Chair Eric, and I am also present. So we have 7 commissioners in chambers, which is a quorum. The next item on our agenda is reports and announcements. Ms. Sandmeyer, are there any staff reports or announcements this evening?
Yes, good evening, Chair Eric and Commissioners. So tomorrow's City Council meeting, there will be a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2025 to 2026 budget and capital improvement plan. There's also an item on the agenda for the potential repeal of the closure of a portion of Santa Cruz Avenue. And that concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. Do commissioners have any questions about those announcements? Vice Chair Silverstein.
Is the closure of Santa Cruz or any other street for that matter, is that a planning commission? Is that within the purview of the planning commission to review or recommend at any given point in time? Or is that strictly city council, or is that complete streets? I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I believe it's more city council. The planning commission is focused on development on private land, not the public streets in general.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any additional questions about those announcements? Okay. Do any commissioners have reports or announcements of their own? Okay, seeing none, we will move to item D, the public comment portion of our agenda. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name, district, or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Please know that if you are here tonight to comment on one of our agenda items, you will have a chance to speak when we get to that item in the agenda. So, to learn how to participate, I'm going to turn to our clerk this evening, Mr. Turner, to explain how you can participate and then to begin our public comment period.
Thank you, Chair Eric. If you would like to give public comment in the general public comment period, if you are participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen. If you are calling into tonight's meeting, please click the *9 buttons on your phone. And if you would like to give public comment and you are here with us in council chambers, please fill out a comment card in the back of the room and hand it to me. At the moment, we do not have any hands raised for general public comment, and we don't have any comment cards.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give it a few more moments.
Still no hands raised and no comment cards.
Okay, then I will now close the public comment portion of our agenda. The next agenda is item E, our consent calendar. Tonight, there is one item on the consent calendar. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment on the consent calendar and open public comment? And open the public comment period, excuse me.
Yes, so once again, please click the raise hand button or *9 if you are on the phone or via Zoom, or fill out a comment card and hand it to me. Give it a couple seconds here. Still no comment cards and no hands raised for the consent calendar.
Okay, I will close public comment on the consent calendar. Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to pull this item from the consent calendar? Okay, can I ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar? I see a motion from Commissioner Baruzzi
Second.
and a second from Vice Chair Silverstein. We have a motion and a second. I will call the vote on tonight's consent calendar. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Aye.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Abstain.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. That makes 6 yes votes and 1 abstention. The consent calendar passes. We will now move to the public hearing portion of our agenda. First up is item F1. This agenda item is regarding a use permit and variance at 805 Harvard Avenue. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence with a partial basement and construct a new 2-story single-family residence with a basement on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot depth and area in the R1U Single-Family Urban Residential Zoning District at 805 Harvard Avenue. The project also includes a use permit request for excavation within the required street side setback along Cornell Road for a proposed basement light well. Additionally, the project includes a variance request to locate the garage entrance 16 feet from the street side lot line instead of the required 20 feet. We may also determine that this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 1503's class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal would also include an attached accessory dwelling unit or ADU, which is a permitted use and not subject to discretionary review. Okay, I believe the planner for this item is Ms. Khan. Ms. Khan, are there any updates to the staff report?
Good evening, Chair Eric, fellow planning commissioners, and members of the public. Staff does not have any updates to the published staff report. We do have the applicant team as well as the property owners present at City Council chambers. The applicant does have a presentation for the commission tonight.
Great, thank you. I will then ask the applicant at this time to make their presentation.
Sorry, Chair Eric, real quick.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Thank you. My property is within 500 and 1,000 feet of this property, and having reviewed the materials provided by the City Attorney's Office and the FPCC, I plan to recuse myself for this item, and I'll be outside chambers for the next item. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sillen. We will come get you at the close of this item. Okay, if the applicant could come and please state your name and make your presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chair Eric and Commissioners. My name is Chris Coomer of CKA Architects here in town. I'm happy to be here this evening with Nate Voorhees, the property owner at 805 Harvard. I'd like to start by thanking Fatine for her hard work and diligence on the staff report and guidance on our project. As explained, we're here for a use permit review for a new home on a substandard lot. It's substandard in area and in depth. It's also a corner lot, which makes it a little bit hard to design on. Additionally, we're requesting a variance from the required garage setback, not the house setback. Next slide, please. So this is a little hard to see, but We're on the corner here, and there's a corner of Cornell and Harvard. There's also a large stand of trees that you can see in your packet. There's a large stand of redwood trees on the south side of the lot. So along with the sort of normal pinches that you get on a corner lot, we're also pinched by these three heritage redwoods. Next slide, please. So the corner lot you can see in your packet the house has a 12-foot required setback on Cornell. That's the side. In addition to the side setback, the ordinance requires we have a 20-foot setback for the garage. Now, on a normal interior lot, you'd have a 7-foot side setback. Our neighboring setback is 17 to 20 feet on the opposite side, on the south side, because of these redwood trees. So we're feeling the pinch on the sides particularly, and the lot's already substandard in its area and depth. So it's been difficult to design a home of similar size to the neighboring homes in the area. Now, one of the most important things we're trying to do is maintain a respectful distance from the redwood trees. So that was a big design parameter, which is from 11 to sort of 14 feet on the south side. So after reviewing the various challenges, we came up with a couple of designs. One with sort of no backyard for the house, one with underground parking, one with looking at the garage entry from Harvard that has various challenges, and that's particularly difficult. It means driving on the tree roots, and it means taking out street trees. We also looked at having a 12-foot wide great room, which also didn't seem like a great design. So we alighted on this design that reduces the required garage setback from 20 to 16. And I just want to stress that the rest of the design is compliant. So the 12-foot setback for the house is being maintained. It's just the garage setback we're looking for relief. And the factors that support that decision included, if the intent in the ordinance for the 20-foot garage setback is presumably to park a car in a driveway, then in this case, the 16-foot that we're requesting does that. Googling this morning, the average length of a car is 14'7". We're providing 16, but when you consider the distance to the curb from the garage, so not from the property line, but from the curb, this design provides 23'6". So that's, to my eye, plenty of room for any large vehicle, thereby complying with sort of the intent of that 20-foot ordinance. Additionally, Fatina, if you can advance the slide to the next, I think 2. So these are some of the variations we tried on the plans. And the next one, please. It's challenging to read, but in your packet, we surveyed the neighborhood, and it appears that every other house on the block, this is a 2-block street, Cornell, every other house is violating the front setback, and in varying degrees. So the neighboring lot has a 20-foot front setback. They were given a variance here at Planning Commission to move their house 10 feet forward. So they have a 10-foot front setback instead. At the corner on Creek, they have a 10-foot front setback as well, and their garage is at 10 feet. So not only is their house, but their garage, which should be at 20, is at 10. On the other side of Harvard, same condition exists. There are homes that have 12-foot and 10-foot for the garages. And so hopefully our request for the 16 fits nicely into that. It's actually more modest than what you'll see out there on the street. And lastly, I'd like to also just reiterate that because there's no sidewalk on Cornell, when you look from the curb to our proposed garage, that again will be 23'6". So that'll look like the appropriate distance, in fact, even further than what would be required. So also in your packet, we provided documentation about how this request meets the findings for the variance, and I'm happy to go through those if you have questions about them. I'm hopeful that this request is measured so that it allows the homeowners full enjoyment of the property and still respects the regulations and the existing heritage trees and fits nicely in the neighborhood. Lastly, the house, the fun stuff. The house is a Tudor design. We're replacing an existing Tudor home with a new Tudor design, trying to really keep in the quaint vibe of Allied Arts neighborhood. And we've also reached out to the neighbors to discuss the design, and a summary of those interactions was in the staff report. So lastly, I hope that you find it's a successful design. We think it's working well, and happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Coomer. Before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have clarifying questions for staff or for the applicant? Vice Chair Silverstein.
I have a couple questions. One, I noticed that there were no sidewalks on these streets, and it was my understanding that at various points in time, sorry, there actually are sidewalks on nearby streets, just not this specific corner. It was my understanding at various points in time, as part of developing new houses on any given lot, part of that process would be to incrementally add sidewalks so that over time we would have a proper sidewalk network around Menlo Park. And this is a question for staff, wondering whether or not that policy is still in place or if that has been abandoned.
Through the chair, if I may answer, as staff, so we do require frontage improvements for any new projects, any new construction, especially ones that are going through discretionary review. In this instance, we are requiring frontage improvements along Harvard Avenue, not along Cornell Road.
And by frontage improvements, does that explicitly mean sidewalks?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you. And then my second question is, in terms of the Planning Commission evaluating this variance, it sounds like this has been permitted in the past and or at least is currently present for other houses in the neighborhood. And my question is, staff is currently recommending that we do grant the variance. What is the framework that staff has used in order to adjudicate whether or not a variance like this is or is not appropriate, considering it is not in compliance with our ordinance?
Thank you for that question. Variances do not set precedent, so we have to look at each project case by case. As noted by the applicant, there are various other residences nearby that do have reduced setbacks. In this case, we look at the project individually. In addition to looking at it individually, we do require applicants to provide us with alternate design options to show us that they have really vetted the need and the necessity for a variance request. If you see the variance request letter that has been submitted by the applicant, you will see an extensive research and analysis done by them to show why it is necessary for this design to work with a variance. Upon review, staff has determined that it does seem like it was very difficult to put in a residence that would function properly, that would have a yard to be enjoyed by the property owner. If this variance is not granted, it does make it difficult, but it is up to the Planning Commission to decide whether you feel that this variance is applicable or not for the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Silverstein. Do other commissioners have clarifying questions? Okay, I am seeing none. We're going to move to public comment for this item. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period?
Yes, so once again, if you would like to give public comment on this item and you are participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button on your screen. If you are calling in to tonight's meeting, click *9, or if you are in council chambers, please fill out a comment card and hand it to me. I will give it a few seconds here. We don't have any comment cards or hands raised at the moment, but I will give it a few seconds. We still do not have any hands raised or comment cards.
Okay, then I will go ahead and close public comment and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit and variance. Would any commissioners like to begin the discussion? Commissioner Doe.
Thank you, Chair Eric. So I appreciate that the siting of the home minimizes the tree impacts, the redwood grove, the street trees, and how that is all tied up in why you're here tonight with the variance. And I am not to preclude any discussion or questions from the other commissioners, but based on the staff report, the applicant letter, and the presentation that you gave that further emphasized the situation, I find the variance findings to be reasonable. I had another comment. Just also that siting also has an advantageous benefit of increased privacy with the other neighbor with increased distance maintaining those trees. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Doe. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. I have some commentary, but I will just provide a little bit of historical context because I realized that I was on the commission when the house next door was given the variant. And I think went back and just wanted to double check my notes, which were not extensive, but did reflect that when 69 Cornell was given the variance, that it was done on June 5th, 2023 with no objections and very little discussion because the variance was, in the eyes of the commission, according to my notes, deemed to be appropriate for the lot size and consistent with that home's original setback. That's what's in my notes. I have not gone back and actually read the official meeting notes or done the recording, but that's what I had, and I wanted to have that context just for my own discussion tonight. I have just essentially some compliments and an appreciation to reflect on this project. I love that the project keeps the Tudor revival theme, both as a nod to the house's current design, but also just to keep the block and the neighborhood interesting and attractive. I think it's actually an enhancement from where we are today. I also, like Commissioner Doe, appreciate the privacy consideration for the second floor balcony. The balcony facing 825 and the thought process about the sill heights that face 69 Cornell. I also appreciated learning that the applicant and the architect had gone out in person to engage with neighbors and show them the plans. I think that falls under the heading of best practices in my book. So thank you for doing that and then for capturing the results. In terms of the documentation of all the different scenarios around the variance, the comparisons of nearby properties and sort of the different scenarios and the impact on the trees, I think was also top-notch and clearly demonstrates the findings in my book. So that's my input. And I'll hand it over to other commissioners for any further discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. Commissioner Farrick.
Thanks. I won't go to repeating all of your well-articulated, but I agree with both my fellow commissioners that have spoken. I do plan to support this. However, I would want to just voice that the one that's twisting my mind up just a little bit is that one of the reasons why I think it's fair to grant this is actually based and not, it kind of contradicts one of the findings that it is not something that would be applicable to other properties, but I feel like because it has been applicable to other properties, it would not be fair to not grant this one. And so that's one just kind of nuance, but it's, certainly makes sense. The reasoning is all good. It's a beautifully designed property. I agree with all the comments aforementioned.
And I don't think we should hold this one home accountable for a condition that's pretty now standard on that set of, that block at least. So there you go. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair Silverstein.
I plan to support the findings in the report on granting the variance and feel like it is appropriate. As part of that, I would like to voice that I consider the requirement of mandating a 20-foot setback to be punitive and unnecessary. And if we are consistently granting variances, then we should also consider whether or not we feel like it is important to require this of other properties, and whether or not we can recommend to City Council to consider reducing that requirement. I understand that we want to make sure that people are not blocking sidewalks or curbs when it comes to parked cars, but that is already illegal. And if they are doing that, they can get cited. And whether or not they have a tiny smart car or a cargo bike or an RV, the 20-foot setback would not necessarily be dependent on their ability or inability to block the frontage. And so I would like to get that on the record, but otherwise I don't have any concerns here.
Thank you, Vice Chair Silverstein. I'm going to give some comments of my own on the project. I plan to support it, and I think it will be a great addition to the city. I'm going to take, hopefully it was just a couple minutes, to make a little bit of a broader point around variances. Just in thinking about when we have discussed variances in the past, my general understanding, or the way it's been explained, is that the city can grant a variance when certain findings are made. And of course, that's true. That phrasing to me implies that there is an entirely factual basis for when we grant variances and when we don't. And I think some of the comments my fellow commissioners have made make it clear that that's really not entirely true. I would also point out that in this case, staff, in recommending the variance, seems to have made basically a judgment call saying that protecting redwood trees is more important, or we should prioritize protecting redwood trees and therefore grant the variance. I want to be clear that I am in no way in favor of getting rid of redwood trees. I think staff made exactly the right judgment call in this situation. I would only point out that this is a judgment call. We could choose to say, no, we care about the setback more than the trees. And I would encourage staff or encourage us in the future to look more at variances as ways of granting relief and granting ways for development to occur in Menlo Park. And I would add that in this case, we are prioritizing trees, but we could also prioritize things like speed of development or ease of development in the city. And I think those would be equally, if not more, important priorities as well. I will add finally that it is my understanding that the Planning Commission exists, at least in some part, to help make judgment calls and to help make prioritization decisions across the city. And I cannot speak for the whole Planning Commission, but certainly as chair, I would be willing to facilitate a greater number of discussions about variances should they make it easier for people to do their work, to develop their properties, and make it easier for staff to move through projects without having to sweat every single detail. I've been on Planning Commission long enough to know that there are lots of rules, lots of parts of our zoning ordinance that are on the books that no one can really explain anymore. But we know their intent, or at least we can intuit their intent. And that's why the Planning Commission, in my opinion, exists. So I will leave that there and just encourage us to use this as a template for future work. With that, Vice Chair Silverstein.
Thank you for your comments. I too cannot speak for the Planning Commission as a whole, but want to echo what you so well put in terms of the judgment calls that we are being asked to make for every permit that we give. In fact, the majority of items that come before the Planning Commission are a function of either specific lots or developments that are not in compliance. Otherwise, they wouldn't be before the Planning Commission in the first place. And to whatever extent we can allow ourselves to make those calls and facilitate the speedy development or I guess the expediency of any given development, I think that would be fantastic. So consider myself to join in that crusade.
Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you. I just want to add on this thread, there is a third option, however, I'm not disagreeing with what you said, but it's the other option that we've never exercised as a commission is demanding the house actually be smaller. Could have achieved both, but that's okay. I'm just adding it out there as a point of this broader conversation, not to make any suggestion in this particular case.
Sorry, Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yeah, I totally agree that that is the third option of we could save the redwood trees and have the setbacks by making the house be smaller. I think the point that I believe Chair Eric was saying that I was at least echoing was that that often is not necessarily a decision that the Planning Commission gets to make, because in the findings of even potentially granting the variance or even allowing any given variance to come before the Planning Commission needs to theoretically be as per the factual basis, and that may or may not come before the Commission in the first place.
Commissioner Farrick.
Agreed. However, we've just not, we have not challenged property rights in that way. We've not challenged staff in that way. I'm just stating kind of that is an avenue, depending on the will of the city and the will of the commission, to pursue is materially changing proposals, which would, I'm not again suggesting it, but I am saying it does come to us and we are acting like there's like this one option only, and there actually are more. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this particular project? We have a motion from Commissioner Baruzzi.
Oh, I haven't made the motion yet, but I would move that, oh, this is a complicated one, actually. You need to read it. So I would move that we approve the variance to locate the garage entrance 16 feet instead of the required 20 feet from the lot line along Cornell Road, and approve use permits to demolish the single-story, single-family residence and construct a new two-story, single-family residence with a basement on a substandard lot. Is this getting too complicated? There's another variance too. There was the light well one, right? Which we didn't talk about at all.
If you would like, I have in the past just
I'm literally
said,
reading
I
this.
make a motion as per the staff report, and you can just use that shorthand. But if you want to read the whole thing,
I'm halfway through.
Go for it.
I got this. And for excavation within the required street side setback for a proposed light well, as recommended by staff.
we have a motion from Commissioner Baruzzi. Commissioner Doe.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Doe. Yes, Commissioner Farrick.
I do feel like we owe a bit of conversation for the record for the variance being granted to the light well, because we haven't mentioned that. And I'd just like to say I can make those findings for the 5 parameters in the staff report for safety, for the condition, and because it doesn't have any impacts on the visual impacts of the neighborhood or the neighbors, there's not really like a detrimental effect on anyone. So I'm able to make those findings.
Through the chair, I just wanted to note the excavation for the light well, that's a use permit request, not a variance request.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a first and a second on the motion. Do any commissioners wish to make additional comments? Okay, then I will call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. That is 6 yes votes with 1 recused or abstained. The motion passes. Thank you very much and congratulations. We will now move on to item F2. This agenda item addresses a use permit at 1211 Arbor Road, 1231 Arbor Road, and 1100 Santa Cruz Avenue. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to construct 6-foot tall metal fences or gates within the front setback of the St. Raymond School parking lot along Arbor Road, which would transition to an 8-foot tall metal fence with gates between the parking lot and the basketball courts to the west of St. Raymond Church in the RE, or Residential Estate, zoning district. The proposed fences or gates would exceed the maximum heights allowed in a residential district. A use permit revision is also requested to modify site-wide parking and circulation plans approved through a use permit in 1992 to reflect the current uses for the church and school without a reduction in parking availability. We may also determine that this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15301's class 1 exemption for existing facilities. I believe Mr. Chan is the planner for this project, and I believe the applicant is here in person as well as virtually. Mr. Chan, are there any updates to the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Eric, members of the commission, members of the public. There are no updates. As you mentioned, members of the project applicant team are here in case there are questions. Thank you.
Okay, I do not believe the applicant is planning on making any comments, in which case, before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have clarifying questions for staff or for the applicant? Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. There is a comment in the staff report that specifically that indicates that this project would include the installation of a no left turn sign on Santa Cruz Avenue specifically during morning traffic. I wanted to question to staff, confirm that this is not a question that the Planning Commission is, it's not part of the decision that Planning Commission is being asked to weigh in on.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. So it is part of the project plans. So in that respect, it is part of your consideration this evening. I can say that the Transportation Division did review these project plans and felt that it was appropriate to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. I think Vice Chair Silverstein and then Commissioner Baruzzi.
I recognize that the proposed fences would exceed the height limitation in a residential district. I understand that this establishment is not a residential abode within a residential district. And I'm wondering if staff has any more context over what the height restrictions would be for I totally recognize we don't have a church district, but are there other examples, perhaps in commercial areas, that would have fence height restrictions for which this would not be in violation?
Thank you, Vice Chair Silverstein. So to clarify this, as you mentioned, this is a church in a residential estate zoning district. Churches are allowed in the residential estate zoning district. They are a special use, and that's why they were granted that use permit many years ago. In terms of walls, fences, and hedging, we have a section in our code that specifically talks about that. It's chapter 16.64 of our zoning ordinance. And there are different requirements. I'm taking a look now quickly. So it appears, unless you're in the Santa Cruz Avenue area, there are requirements for finding of structural stability, aesthetics, general health, safety, welfare of the community, clear lines of sight for vehicular and pedestrian traffic, but not a particular number like 7 feet in height or 4 feet, similar to a residential zoning district.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burizzi, I believe you had a clarifying question.
Yes, I was curious about the circulation plan for the staff. Why would we be restricting left turns in the morning but not in the afternoon?
So I can begin answering some of that based on what I have heard from the applicant and perhaps the applicant team, if they would like to also describe some of the existing patterns as they have intimate knowledge of that. I welcome that. So during our discussion and review of this application, in coordination with our transportation division, it was noted that during the early morning school drop-off times, there was a significantly more increased traffic and stalling. Just I think more people getting to work in that time period has more congestion than later for pickup for various reasons.
Thanks, that helps.
Are there any other clarifying questions from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. This is also a question for staff about the parking plan. I just want to double check. So the discussion around the property initially having 168 spots in their permit and then going down to 156. And then after that, the report discusses that only, I think, 114 were actually built. So the 156 and 168, are those technically parking minimums, and therefore this property is below some sort of minimum threshold for parking, or was the 168 and 156 just sort of like the recommended number?
Thank you, Commissioner Sillen. So the 168 and 156 parking spaces, those were parking requirements that were established for this site, in particular, a special use, so special parking requirements at those different times, at those different time periods. The reason that we're bringing it forward to you this evening is, as you can imagine, a lot has changed since 1992 when this was last reviewed. So we're seeking the Commission's review of the parking and circulation patterns that have come into place since then to formally document and rectify this permit.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other clarifying questions. So I will move us to public comment. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period? Thank you.
For anybody wishing to give public comment on this item, if you're participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button or *9 if you are participating via phone. If you are in council chambers and would like to give public comment, please fill out a comment card and hand it to me. At the moment, we do not have any hands raised or comment cards, but I'll give it a few moments here. We do have one hand raised. So let me. All right. Elisa Yaffa, you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you will have 3 minutes to give your public comment. You are still muted if you're trying to speak.
To the public commenter, we still cannot hear you. I think if you're speaking, you may need to unmute your Zoom application. Okay, I think we may have to move on, but I'll give it a few more seconds.
Maybe Eliza Yaffa?
Mr. Turner, are there any other hands raised for public comment?
No, this is the only one.
Okay. Unfortunately, I think we will have to close public comment in that case in order to move forward. So I'm going to do that and close public comment at this time and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. I will turn it over to any questions or discussion from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Sure. So I just wanted to comment on the circulation changes. We heard from a neighbor who serves on the Complete Streets Commission that during the walk audit, this was actually a really dangerous intersection with a lot of close calls. And so I'm highly supportive of anything that we believe will reduce sort of hasty movements. I think a lot of times when people are trying to turn left against traffic, they kind of dart out. And I've seen kids going in both directions on the sidewalk and in the bike lanes there, as well as all kinds of other people in cars, on foot, et cetera. So I think that's a smart move. And that's my main point. I think I have no issues with anything else in the staff report and think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Baruzzi. Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. Yeah, just want to put in my 2 cents about the fencing. If this was, there's occasionally have like small churches. I was just in Marin County earlier today. One comes to mind that sort of like almost blends in with residences, and there I could see maybe fence heights potentially being an issue. But in this case, St. Raymond's is such a large property that clearly stands out from the nearby residences. So I don't think looking at this, as I think Vice Chair Silverstein alluded, as a residence makes sense. I think it makes sense to look at it as a school, a church, a large, perhaps commercial property, and especially given the security concerns cited in the report, I think it totally makes sense to approve these higher fences. I think a 4-foot fence would not function well as a, security fence if that's the goal, to protect school children. So I would be happy to support the changes in this, that this project proposes. And yeah, I appreciate staff bringing up to date the parking plan, especially given that staff has visited the site and said that the majority of spots are not being used. And in general, I think we want to not incentivize driving by building way more parking than what's needed. I am happy to support that part of the report as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sillen. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you. As other commissioners have said, this makes perfect sense to me, both the traffic component and the fence component. So I'm happy to make a motion to adopt the resolution to approve the use permit as proposed by staff.
Second.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other commissioners wishing to speak, so I will move us to a vote on item F2. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. That is 7 yes votes. The motion passes. Thank you very much to the applicant, and congratulations. We will now move on to item F3. This agenda item addresses a use permit at 1261 El Camino Real. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to operate a massage therapy business, which is considered a restricted personal use and requires a use permit in an existing multi-tenant commercial building in the SPECRD or El Camino Real Downtown Specific Plan Zoning District at 1261 El Camino Real, and determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 15301's class 1 exemption for existing facilities. I believe Ms. Khan is the planner for this item. We also have the applicant in person. Ms. Khan, are there any updates to the staff report?
Thank you, Chair. No, staff does not have any additional updates to the published staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. It is my understanding that the applicant would like to make some verbal remarks. Okay, thank you.
While she's looking back, I'd like to address you about this. My name is Denise Sanders, and my mom owns that building that this is in. And I would like to just make sure that you understand, it is almost impossible to rent a space to retail on El Camino. I know in the new buildings where they have housing above and stores below, they've gotten grocery stores in, but there are no small businesses that can afford to open a retail store on El Camino. Everyone's on Amazon, or they're going to Stanford or downtown Santa Cruz Avenue. So as the landlord, manager person, I don't own it, my mom does. She's 98, so she chose not to come. But I'm just requesting that I did have it for lease for almost 8 months with nobody interested in renting it for a retail business, obviously, because there's no way to exist nowadays. It is an older building, and I think that it is important with all the new buildings going up that there are some spaces available that are not at market value, that people with less money can have the opportunity to, have an office or have a business that isn't $6, $7, $8 a square foot. And we do our best to keep that way below market in order to survive. And because we're lucky enough that we have old property taxes so that we can provide that niche. However, it's impossible to find anybody who can run a retail store there, especially that size. Some of the hardware stores are doing really well. I know we have one I live in Palo Alto, and we have one on California Avenue, which is a newer one, and it's doing exceptionally well. But no one's going to want a small, tiny store like ours for that purpose. Ms. Kong has assured me that it's not going to be your average massage place, but it is going to be more therapeutic and more doctor referred type situation. Additionally, I just wanted to point out to you that we did get this in the mail. And I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but coming up on Mr. Todd Speaker, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I guess he owns a lot of real estate in Menlo Park. And he's going to request from all of you all to do a specific plan amendment to change quite a few of the uses that are currently now on the first floor of a lot of buildings on Santa Cruz Avenue and the El Camino corridor. So I know it's going to be something you're going to be asked to talk about again. I have the little card, if you're not aware of it, that we got in the mail. So I'm just asking you to please consider granting this, because otherwise I have no idea who it could possibly market to anymore. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Sorry, before you leave the dais, could I ask you just to repeat your name for the commission?
Denise Sanders.
Thank
And
you very
my-
much, Ms. Sanders.
My mom is Mart Raymond, and she owns the building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, we have somebody online who is on the applicant team. So I'm going to promote them and let them speak if that's okay.
Please go ahead. Mr. Turner, how we doing?
He may be having technical difficulties. So we're going to try and find a solution really quickly.
Thank you.
The phone, so, yeah, please speaking.
Yeah, hi, this is Mark Marino. I'm sorry. Every time I did raise my hand, my
Can you
computer's
bring
shut
the
off.
microphone close,
Can you
as
hear me
close to the
okay?
speaker as possible? That sounds good.
Okay, go ahead.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Can they hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is Mark Marino. I'm working with Hongju Chen on this project. In attendance, you met Denise Sanders, and we also have the project engineering director Song in attendance. I'm just here to discuss our project. It's a massage spa called Be Healthy Life. It's a, like Denise says, it's a small business, and it will be handling massage services. We reached out to the community and sent invitations to everybody on both sides of the block, announcing ourselves, introducing ourselves. Also, we scheduled a party for after we opened so that all the neighbors can come and visit the shop. The idea is that we want to make sure that there's nothing that people have questions about, that they can meet the owner and the other members of the service and know people by face and become a part of the community. It's a small business with a little interior reconstruction, alterations. It's using an existing building that was previously used for a lighting business. There'll be 3 to 4 employees service rooms, a small employee lounge with a refrigerator and a microwave, and a restaurant and a front lobby. They're nice, the alterations don't have any real variances that I'm aware of. We have Song to provide more information if there is. But the idea is that we'll have the alterations that don't change any structural integrity, adds a handicap entrance and a rear entrance to the back of the building. The marketing concept is to approach schools, athletic exercise places, doctors and chiropractic offices, and places where we can get business, to be a uniform staff of licensed massage personnel. Ellen graduated from a spa university in San Francisco and has committed several $1,000s to the project. Let's see here. We expect there to be just regular daylight hours, nothing late at night, nothing early in the morning, to probably get roughly in the range of 20 clients per day. And like I mentioned, we're going to have an opening party. We made a lot of effort to contact the community. We created a communication site, behealthyspa@gmail.com, and we worked with professional engineering services and accountants to make sure that we fulfilled all the requirements of the locations. I think you have our project description in your packet, so I didn't expect to speak, and that's what I've got. But do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Marino and Ms. Chen. Do commissioners have any, oh, sorry. Yes. Do commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant at this time? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we are going to move to public comment for item F3. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period?
Yes, so once again, if you would like to give public comment on this item, please click the raise hand button on your screen or *9 if you are calling in. If you'd like to give public comment and you're in chambers, please fill out a comment card and hand it to me. At the moment, we don't have any hands raised or comment cards, but I'll give it a few moments. And still no public commenters at this time.
Okay, in that case, I think I'm going to close public comment and move us back to the dais for commissioner discussion and ultimately a motion on the use permit. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Okay, this is my night to talk about circulation and transportation demand. So I think this sounds great. No issues with the project itself, and I think it's great that you found somebody after 8 months of looking. It sounds like they will be a welcome addition to the community. The one thing that I bumped up on in the staff report was so I think it's fine that we can't require parking. It is close to the train station. But the fact that the applicant was hoping to depend on a combination of the lot behind or adjacent to the building as well as on-street parking concerns me a little bit, because to the north and south of us along El Camino, we were seeing on-street parking removed. and being replaced with bicycle lanes. That's something that will probably come to Menlo Park at some point when the El Camino is repaved. And we've already seen parking removed on the El Camino frontage closer to Middle Avenue, which I think the tenants of the building in that area were not excited about. And so I think what I would encourage the applicant to do is plan proactively and not to count on the on-street parking. I'll note that Springline across the street has built a huge garage that has not up till now been even close to full. It has a lot of extra spaces. And so one thing you might consider doing for the ease of your clients would be to make an arrangement with Springline to have staff park across the street. It's not that far. You're pretty close to the Oak Knoll intersection. Oak Grove, sorry. There are a lot of oaks in Menlo Park. So that would just be my one comment. I would just think ahead about that, and so that you can build the patterns in, and you aren't surprised and disappointed 2 years from now when Caltrans comes through and says, you know what, actually, we're going to change this. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Baruzzi. Commissioner Doe.
Thank you, Chair Eric. Thank you, Commissioner Baruzzi, for pointing that out. We definitely have noticed the much improved bike lanes. And in keeping with the theme of be healthy, I think the staff report also mentions people would walk, take the train, I think maybe also bike, so that would relieve some of that parking load. And so I just had a question about if someone's biking where they would put their bike. I don't know if there's a possibility. I know it's a tight squeeze front and back. Yes, so through the chair, question, yes, to the applicant, if I may.
Please go ahead.
We do have a parking lot in the back. And so there's also a staircase that goes up to the second floor, and there's plenty of bicycle parking underneath that, or scooter or electric bike.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't see it, but there's just like a place you could like lock it up secure. Okay, great. Thank you. And actually, I forgot to start off by saying that I also have no issues with the use permit being granted for this business, like Commissioner Baruzzi mentioned. And then one other comment, not having to do with transportation, circulation, or the use, which again, I'm also supportive of. I did notice in the floor plans that a new gas water heater was going to be installed. And I know it's an existing building. And if it's possible, again, through the chair to the applicant, a question or even just a suggestion to consider in the theme of being healthy, of not having a fossil fuel fired appliance, but maybe an all-electric heat pump when, if it's possible within the constrictions of an existing building. And there's lots of resources to help small business owners to make this possible, I believe, through our clean energy provider. I'm sure the city also has access to those resources they could share. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Silverstein.
In the downtown specific plan, there are a number of enumerated use cases, and they're identified on to what extent they are either by default allowed or allowed with a administrative use permit or allowed only if there's a use permit granted by the Planning Commission. And I can't help but notice that those are very explicitly enumerated, and just want to know, I guess, what the Planning Commission feels about the lack of flexibility that provides for a ever-changing world. I don't necessarily want to be in the business of having to update our allowable use cases every time there's a new business type that's created in ever-changing times. And I don't know I don't have an explicit opinion on this, but I did kind of going through here recognize that there will always be things that fall outside the bounds, and want to explore to whatever extent possible the owners of any given establishment, the potential lessees, and planning staff to be able to have that flexibility and make those calls for the betterment of the overall downtown specific district, and not necessarily have to be rooted in these very stringent lines that we have painted ourselves in. And I know that we today are not going to be talking about actually changing that, but I'm wondering whether or not we can either explore recommended changes, or at least think about how we can establish kind of a framework for thinking about those types of uses, because I know that a number of those have come before the Planning Commission, even in the last couple months. And the more repeatability we see, the more value there is to solving the root of the problem, as opposed to adjudicating every individual item on a one-off basis. That being said, I'm in favor of this.
Thank you, Vice Chair Silverstein. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you. If I may, just directionally respond to Vice Chair Silverstein's commentary. Ms. Sanders raised something that I was unaware of, but have subsequently found since she showed this. There does appear to be a submitted application or proposal for changing some of what is conditional and what are permitted uses in the context of the plan. So I look forward to, I'm assuming just based on what I've seen here, this eventually will come before the Planning Commission, probably in the not too distant future. I want to be sensitive to not talking about something that is not an agendized item. Is there anything that, through the chair, is there anything that staff could share with us about that in the sort of context of Vice Chair Silverstein's questions and commentary?
Through the chair, if I may answer Commissioner Schindler's comments and question, that is correct. Staff is working with an applicant. Since it is a private applicant, we didn't bring it up, but since Ms. Sanders brought it to the attention of the commission, planning staff is working with a private applicant with regards to making some changes with regards to uses that would be permissible, that would require a conditional use permit. And it is not too far in the future that you will get to see and review this at a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. It raises questions, but I will save them until we see it as an agendized item.
Commissioner Farrick.
In the spirit of keeping us moving along, I have nothing new to add, but I would like to make a motion to adopt the use permit and conditional use for 1261 El Camino Real to operate as a personal service business, massage therapy business.
I'm happy to second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. I will just quickly, before we call the vote, note my support and also appreciation for the comments of my fellow commissioners. I second the thoughts provided both by Commissioner Baruzzi and Vice Chair Silverstein. With that, I will call the vote on item F3. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Yes.
Commissioner Doe.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen.
Aye.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. That is 7 votes in favor. Congratulations. And indeed. Thank you very much. Next time. Okay, we will now move on to item F4. This item pertains to a use permit at 3553 Haven Avenue, Unit 4. In this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to operate an indoor sports training private recreational use, which is considered a special use and requires a permit in an existing multi-tenant commercial building on a property that is substandard with regard to the minimum parking requirement in the M2 General Industrial Zoning District, and determine that this action is categorically exempt under CEQA Guidelines Section 15301's Class 1 exemption for existing facilities. I believe the staff planner for this item is Mr. Pruder, and we also have the applicant available via Zoom. Mr. Pruder, are there any updates to the staff report?
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Eric, Vice Chair Silverstein, Planning Commissioners, members of the public. We don't have any updates to discuss at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I will add the project applicant, Kohei Tamagawa, is available. He would be providing a presentation, which I will share on my screen, and then he will preside over that following any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead. Mr. Tamagawa, welcome, and we look forward to hearing about your project. Mr.
Good evening.
Tamagawa, if you can hear us,
Yes.
go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Kohei Tamagawa. I'm the owner of Performance Space LLC. Thank you for the opportunity to present the proposal for private basketball skills and performance training facility at 3553 Haven Avenue. Next slide, please. So update on for today's commission meeting is we are planning to utilize a portable basketball hoop option as well. And also we are consulting with the California licensed architect for our building permit application and ADA compliance. Next slide, please. This is a confirmation of 100 available parking spaces. It's verified by landlord, and the detailed on adult and youth training programs are provided. And for example, we plan on providing training, adult performance training, strength training, and conditioning training in the mornings, and youth basketball skills and performance training in the evenings. And also confirmation that no outdoor activities are proposed, and no future modifications will be requested or with the regard to building height, window size, placement, exterior materials, and parking and vehicle access. Next slide, please. And purpose of this proposal is to provide to establish use permit in the basketball skill performance training facility. The facility is specifically designed or a training program, and the facility is for a basketball training used to adults on all levels and ages. It is a dedicated performance facility for basketball athletes. Next slide, please. Operational activities include individual group training. It's a small group training, strength conditioning programs designed for basketball athletes, youth development programs. We also plan on host the clinics and workshops. Next slide, please. Estimated number of customers, we estimate 100 unique individuals, with the possibility of some customers may attend multiple appointments per classes. Next slide, please. Some additional considerations. It is on the report. We utilize rubberized flooring and to limit the impact and noise, and maintain closed door, garage door during training sessions, and to manage traffic and parking, we will optimize and use the scheduling web application to comply noises and any traffic conflicts. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the training facility will provide the valuable recreational and fitness service to the Menlo Park community, and the facility will be operated in a safe, responsible, and professional manner. Our training sessions are led by professionals, a professional and certified coaching staff. Also, a mission. Our mission is to provide a consistent environment for athletes for their success, and I also like to welcome athletes not only locally but internationally here in the heart of Silicon Valley. We are really excited to bring a basketball-specific training program to the Menlo Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tamagawa. At this time, do any commissioners have clarifying questions for either staff or the applicant? Vice Chair Silverstein.
This is a question for staff. Is my understanding correct that I just want to make sure I'm reading the staff report correct. The minimum parking required based on the square footage of the 3 adjacent lots would be 246 minimum parking spots, but there are only 113 in today's world?
Yes, that is correct.
And are we seeing that less than half of the minimum requirement cause problems for parking at that site?
I would say initially, in the research I've done on the site, I have visited the site in person, and I've also been working on this project for a couple months. I have not received any concerns or commentary from the public about it. I've also noticed in my site visit that anecdotally, there weren't many parking spaces occupied by vehicles. And so it seemed as though not a lot of parking was utilized in my experience, and not a lot of concerns about parking on those 3 sites was expressed. And then furthermore, the other item I would add is that there are a number of, I think, vacancies in those buildings currently. So it's unclear as to how many uses are currently occupying or need the parking to begin with.
But it's safe to say that our minimum required parking spot or parking requirements is at least twice as much as the totally functional current parking situation that is in place today?
I would say that it appears that way.
Thank you.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
I'm not sure whether this is a staff or applicant question. Maybe through the chair, I'll start with staff. So I think this is an interesting creative reuse of space. I'm curious about ventilation, especially, I mean, it looks, like there's like a giant garage door type situation that I could imagine if I were running a training space, I might want that to be open a lot of the time if there were a lot of people in there. But the staff report says that it shouldn't be open for noise reasons, I guess. And I'm just curious about whether that's something that you've worked through with the applicant. Are we being too hard saying that it should be closed all the time? I want to make sure that, especially given the pandemic we went through and how important it was for people to be able to get exercise and have fresh air and have ventilation, that these are things that you're thinking through before we create any conditions of use that might not work in the future or might be hard for the business.
If I may, through the chair, thank you for the question. I don't recall us specifically stating in the staff report that the doors would be shut at all times or no doors could be open. I know there was an explicit mention of no outdoor activities. I believe that does present a nuance because arguably if that roll-up door is open, there's a lot of fresh air, kind of flowing in and out of the building. It could be somewhat outdoor feeling in nature perhaps. But I believe we did not really get into the specific detail of requiring doors to be closed. Sorry.
Actually, on page, sorry. in additional considerations, noise mitigation. You talk about utilizing rubberized flooring, limiting impact noise, maintaining closed doors during training sessions. That was what I was reacting to.
If I may. I believe that was a proposal by the applicant and not a requirement by staff, if I read that correctly. And while they are proposing that that's the steps they would take, I don't believe that those would be requirements of the use permit that we're issuing. But
Thank
please
you.
feel free to
You're
correct
right.
me.
I'm going to ask staff to help us there.
Yes, thank you for the additional commentary on that. So yes, in looking at this closer, the applicant has created these details in their project description letter, and they are bound by what they've committed to. So if there's any desire to modify that, we can discuss that. But it is something that maybe the applicant can speak more to if that's acceptable or if that was truly what their intention was. But the other item I would want to also add is with ventilation requirements. They're going through the building permit process, and so other air circulation safety needs will be addressed during that review period as well when the tenant improvement occurs inside the building. And I think that'll affect some of the airflow issues, but on this matter of the doors being shut, that was something the applicant has indicated in their letter, and I think perhaps they may want to, he may want to speak a little more on that matter at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Tamagawa, do you have anything to add on this topic?
Yes. It is a consideration for noise, potential noise, and if this is a requirement or it really is depends on the in case of having a complaint from the neighbors, but I believe it is a consideration. It's not required by my business our business operation, if that makes sense. So if it's listed as like 24/7 all time shot during a training sessions, I was not intended to describe as a completely shut during the summer, especially during the summer.
Can I respond?
Commissioner Bersey.
Yeah, I think I might request that we change this personally. It says maintaining closed doors during training sessions. That to me sounds like pretty definitive. And if what staff are saying, I think if I heard Mr. Pruder correctly, that you're going to be bound by those conditions, I think we might want to reconsider. My colleagues might have a different opinion. Maybe they would like the doors to be closed at all times when there are balls bouncing on the floor. I can definitely imagine that there could be noise issues, but I just think that sounds impractical, again, as you mentioned, for things like summertime and other times when you're going to want more airflow.
Yeah, sorry, this is still clarifying questions. That sounds like a great topic for commission discussion. Are there any other clarifying questions? Okay, then I will move us to public comment. Mr. Turner, could I ask you to please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period?
All right, if you would like to give public comment on this item, please click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen or *9 if you are joining by phone. If you'd like to give public comment and you're in chambers, fill out a comment card and hand it to me. At the moment, we do not have any comment cards and no hand raised, but I will give it a second. We still do not have any hands raised or comment cards.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. Vice Chair Silverstein.
I want to follow up on what Commissioner Abruzzi mentioned in terms of requiring explicitly that they maintain closed doors during training sessions. If the applicant did not intend that to be a formal, explicit requirement, then I personally am comfortable with that being removed from the project plan, but would want to make sure that the applicant is comfortable with that as well.
Sorry, Mr. Tamagawa, did you have anything further to say?
Yes, if it's not required by planning commission, I would like to how to say, ventilation, the doors closed situation to be removed.
Okay.
That was a consideration part of for the noise. And then if I may add a business operations side, the main operation in the morning, that was before 8 a.m., even before 10 a.m. During regular business hour of the regular normal businesses, 8 to 5 is not being used as because of the main operation is after 5 p.m. for especially used basketball skills. So the noise won't be an issue, I believe, even if the garage door is open.
Okay, and Mr. Tamagawa, can I ask you to clarify if the commission is amenable, you would like us to remove the condition that the door be closed during training sessions? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. I also support the direction that multiple commissioners have leaned in, and I'm supportive of approving the use permit. So maybe, and through the chair to staff, is it appropriate to approve the resolution with guidance to staff, since the resolution itself does not mention this condition, with explicit guidance to staff that if the applicant chooses to update the description letter, the project description letter, in a way that removes a statement about the doors being left closed during training sessions, that would be acceptable. Is that administratively, is that okay way to handle it?
Yes, that could be worked out. I believe best to provide that as a condition of approval in this action. That is more explicit, but it would be a matter of saying that the applicant could submit the revised project description letter at the building permit stage, and staff could, review that and confirm that the changes made in the letter.
So I will try to attempt to get that. So I would make a motion then to approve the resolution as proposed by staff with the condition that when the applicant gets to the point of building permit submitting for building permit, that they be able to update the project description letter to remove the element about the doors being left closed during training sessions. Does that reflect the guardrails that you had identified, Mr. Pruder?
Yes, that would. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. I believe we have a motion. Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Abruzzi. Do any commissioners have further comments or discussion points? Commissioner Farrick.
Just very briefly, I support the amendment that we're suggesting and look forward to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comments, I am going to call the vote on item F4. Commissioner Abruzzi.
Yes.
Commissioner Doe.
Yes.
Commissioner Ferrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That is 7 yes votes with 0 no votes. The motion passes. Thank you very much to the applicant. Okay, we will now move to item G on our agenda, informational items. Ms. Sandmeyer, would anyone from staff like to provide an update on upcoming Planning Commission meetings or agendas?
Yes, good evening again. So our next meeting will be June 23rd. We have one item on that agenda, and that's 200 to 300 El Camino Real, architectural control to add security gates to the garage entrances for those buildings. And then the following meeting will be July 14th, and we haven't finalized the agenda for that meeting. That concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. I believe we have a question from Commissioner Ferrick.
It's not a question, it's just attendance planning. Unfortunately, my luck isn't as good this year as last year with not landing on planned trips for work and otherwise. Unfortunately, I will have to miss the next 2 due to 2 separate and unrelated out-of-town commitments.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferrick. Do any other commissioners have questions? Commissioner Bruzzi.
Yes, I'm just curious about when the rest of the summer meetings are, if they're in a... Sorry. Thank you. I was looking for them under informational items, and I see. Okay. I will just reiterate a request I made earlier today that it was really helpful when we had a Google Calendar invite for the Planning Commission meetings, and would love to see that come back.
Okay. Do any other commissioners want to bring up additional informational items? Okay, I have one before we close, which is I wanted to use this space to say that I will be, I guess this is an informational item about seeking information. I will be seeking information on how the Planning Commission can potentially express its opinion as a commission to the City Council. I was thinking about this just because we had 2 items on today's agenda, and I believe a couple others in previous weeks about use permits required for various special uses. I think Vice Chair Silverstein commented on this on one of the items. And it strikes me that as the Planning Commission, we have the privilege of seeing items that come up and seeing potential themes as they emerge with regards to how our zoning code is interacting with the needs of our citizens. I was happy to hear that potentially there's an item coming up regarding amending these uses. And I think if that's the case, it would potentially be beneficial for the Planning Commission to be able to comment as a commission on things that we've seen and data that we've gathered in our work. If that item was not coming up, I think it would be equally as useful for the Planning Commission, if it so chose, to be able to express to the City Council that we have seen patterns emerge and might be and provide signal or information to the City Council about what we're seeing. So there's a question in my mind as to how best to do this. There are some things that I've thought about that I don't think are good options. Those things are first sending individual letters to the City Council or speaking individually with our City Council liaison. I think those are perfectly valid ways of interacting with City Council, but done in an individual capacity does not or would not, in my opinion, carry as much weight as if the commission said something as a commission on various items. And while I certainly cannot comment on what the commission would want to say, the example I brought up is just an example. I think it is worth thinking about how, as a city, the Planning Commission can help us be more proactive in addressing some of these issues or themes that come up. One thing I am thinking about is whether or not the commission or any commissioner could draft a letter and have that letter be signed by other planning commissioners. I don't know if that would or would not violate the Brown Act, but these are all things I'm going to be following up on with staff to understand more about. And I wanted to state that in informational items, both for the awareness of my fellow commissioners and for the record. And with that, I will adjourn our meeting at 8:42 p.m. Thank you, everyone.